Good afternoon. Welcome to our Grad Leaders webinar highlighting best practices for managing internships. Can everybody hear us? If you have any comments for us, put it in the Q&A section in WebEx. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. This is Tammy Scott. I'm the VP of Support, and I will get our session kicked off today. First, I just want to mention that this is truly the module of many names. So you'll hear us refer to it as any of the following interchangeably. Internships, co-ops, experiential learning, and I'm sure there's others. I realize these terms may mean different things to some of you, but that's one of the great benefits of GradLeaders Career Center in that we offer many customizations to make it work for you. So we'll start with a brief explanation of the co-op internship module. Erin Clark, CRM manager and our internship guru, will then walk you through setup and functions. If you have any questions, again, please type them in the chat window, not the Q&A window. I know how confusing that is, but that just helps us monitor the questions, and we will answer all of your questions then at the end. This experiential learning module allows you to efficiently manage each stage of your internship process with an automated career services system that tracks deadlines, approvals, evaluations, and more. So it will organize with complete records, including student profiles, activity data, status, and insights into where they are applying, grant students access to new opportunities, and pre-assign primary and secondary co-op managers. It will approve by helping students electronically acquire signatures, collect timely evaluations from employers, and remind students and employers when a deadline is approaching. Manage pending records that need review directly from the admin dashboard. Batch assign internship managers, and export key data on students for reporting. Specifically, Erin will review the semester setup, approval templates, student view, admin management, and of course, reporting. Okay, so now I'm going to pass this over to Erin to do a live training session of the co-op internship module.
Hello, everyone. Like Tammy mentioned, my name is Erin Clark. I'm the CRM manager here, so I oversee our team of CRMs, and I've worked closely with a lot of different school partners that use this module that vary in scale. So we have some that have a very nice smaller class size, very tight process, to those who have to scale into a much larger program. So this program is very scalable. We've seen it in action, and like Tammy mentioned earlier, it's nice because it is flexible to try to align best with your process. So I'll just kind of walk through each phase of it from each audience. And again, like Tammy mentioned, if you have any questions, just put them into the chat, and then I'll take a look at the end, and we can kind of have that open Q&A. So I'll begin here from the admin perspective. So this is the administrator dashboard. We have some widgets here that are relevant to this module. So we have a quick search on companies and contacts or recruiters. You have a student database quick search. You have your job board, where a lot of these potential opportunities are going to potentially start as job postings or co-op postings that students can then review and apply to and hopefully land. We have a widget where you can quickly access the co-op records, both all records and then pending as well. And we just have some training widgets that we can throw on there just to kind of help keep information at your fingertips. So to start as an administrator, I always like to create a semester. And so students have to have a semester to report their record again. So this is always the first piece to do. I'm going to jump into here. And you can see we have a lot of semesters that we use for testing, but I'll go ahead and show you how to create a new one. So under next actions, I'll just say add semester. We'll kind of get a screen with a lot of different fields. And so to start, very simply, I can name my semester. So I'll just do another test semester. I can choose what date that this semester starts and ends. So let's say I wanted this to run from November 1st. I'm going to go ahead and have this run until May 1st or 2nd. Switch that, May 1st. Then you can choose whether it's an active or inactive status, and this is helpful for potentially building out your semesters in advance. So if you want to go ahead and build these out for the whole academic year, maybe a few, you can, and you can leave them into one of these specific statuses, because only active semesters within this start and end range will show to a student when they go to report their co-op. So I'll go ahead and make this active. And we have quite a few other fields here. Kind of zoom out a little bit so we can see them all at once. These are all of the options you have for evaluations and surveys. We do have an integration with SurveyMonkey. And so what you'll be doing is crafting your evaluations in SurveyMonkey. You can refresh them into GLCC, and then from there you can assign them at the semester level. And so you can see I have a list of different surveys that I can choose that I've built within SurveyMonkey and then refresh into here. We have 5 options total. The first 3 learning objectives, midterm student and final student, are all student-facing surveys. The last 2, midterm employer and final employer, are of course employer-facing surveys. You don't have to use all 5 of these. You can only use specific ones. We can pare these down for you, but this is the maximum, is 3 student-facing and 2 employer-facing. So I can simply just choose for learning objectives. I'll pick my learning objectives survey. For this semester, I want these to go out starting on November 12th, and I want them to run until the 30th. And let's say I want to start reminding students once they receive this survey. I want to remind them every so often that they need to take this. So I can start reminders, let's say on the 19th. So a week after this launches on the 12th, I'm going to have reminders start going, and I can choose the interval. So how many days between reminders do I want? I'll just say every 3 days I want them to get a reminder. Now they'll only receive a reminder if they have not completed their survey. So once they do complete this, those reminders will not keep triggering for that individual. You kind of just repeat this process for each one. Again, you don't have to use every single one, so you can pick and choose which ones you do want to use. And this is at the semester level. And this is important because this is the default template. And as we move forward, I'll show you how you can modify this for each unique student. And so there's sometimes where maybe a student has a specific major, or maybe their start date doesn't align well with the semester, and you need to send them surveys at different times, or maybe a different survey. So you can get that granular, but what you're doing here is really setting a default template for the semester. At that point, you just hit save and your semester's created. The other piece I like to do prior to kind of having this go live to students would be approval templates. And this is an optional function. A vast majority of users who have this module use this, and this is a way for you to have this student's co-op record automatically go through an approval process and retrieve electronic signatures instead of the old method of taking physical paper around and having individuals sign off on it. And so similar to creating a new semester, next actions, add approval template. And then from here, you can title your template. So we'll just do another test template here. Choose whether it's active or inactive, and this is going to be for the admin side. If it's active, it's going to be available for you to choose when assigning an approval workflow to a co-op record. If it's inactive, it will not be available for you to choose. Then I'm going to add every step that we have here that's available. And so we have 7 different approver types that are available. We have company contact and company supervisor. Sometimes these are the same person, sometimes they are different. We did segregate them out just in case they are different. We have the advisor, or some schools use faculty mentor. This is going to be internal staff. We have a primary and secondary co-op manager. Again, this is going to be internal staff. We have the students themselves, and then we have other, and other is the wild card. This is where you can type in any email address and any description. And so this is, I normally see this used for maybe somebody at a dean level, or maybe somebody at the company level that's not the contact or supervisor on the record. It really doesn't matter because you're free to put in any email address or description that you'd like. And so what you're doing here, similar to semesters, you're just creating a template. So this is really just a baseline for you to start with. Here in a little bit, we'll talk about how you can modify an approval workflow specifically to an individual. but starting with this template just to save you some time. And now you can see there's 7 approver type 7 steps. You can have more steps than this. I don't really commonly see it. So let's say you want student to be, the 6th step and also the 8th step. You can do that. You can add another step and choose, student again, and it'll circle back around and hit them again. And you can easily modify which steps these are. So let's say the supervisor needs to be step 1. I can trigger that. Now it'll slide everything down. The advisor needs to be step 2. So it's just that easy to kind of modify the path that this takes to get approval. And again, once you're completed, you just hit save. And so that's kind of the first 2 pieces I would do as an administrator when setting up this module to be ready to be used by students. So next I will actually sign in as a student and show you their experience. There's one individual we pick on a lot, as you can see, Courtney. So I'm just going to grab one of her co-op records real quick, just so I can quickly get to her profile and sign in as her. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm acting as the student. So I'm signing in as them. Honestly, any actions I take in here, I am acting as the student. So I do have some extra ability as an administrator, but I am, acting as the student. So if I apply for a job or if I submit a co-op record, that will take effect. That is real data there. Obviously, in our demo environment, it's all dummy data, so it's pretty not really an issue. So on the student side, we do have co-ops here are cleverly tucked under the jobs main level menu, but this can be broken out. It can be under any of these side menus here. It can be its own menu, which most schools normally do, make it prominent. There's also a widget that can be placed on the dashboard here where they can quickly access all of their co-op records. They can add one quickly. And then this is nice. This is view all available co-op opportunities. And so if you have jobs and you use position type or job type to classify them as a co-op or internship type opportunity, if I click this, it's going to basically execute a search in the job file to show me all of the job opportunities that are available that have a position type that equal co-op or internship. So it's a nice quick way for them to find available opportunities. But I can go through that widget or I can come straight to co-op. You can see here, here's all of my historic co-op records. Again, we pick on this student a lot, so we have 26 of them in the demo environment. And they can change easily the way these are viewed, just a simple grid change. That's just aesthetics that they can choose. But to add a new one is very simple. They just hit this add co-op. This is where the semester is important. If there's no semesters created or none active, they're not going to be able to submit a co-op record. And so here we have one active, which is fall 2018. So I'm going to pick my semester. You can run multiple semesters at one time. So I have seen some other schools use specific semesters for specific audiences of students and just educate them on which one they should select. But we'll see here in a bit how easily you can change a semester as an administrator if there is an error. So I'll pick my semester, hit save. And now from here it's going to take me through a little path, and this is really just to try to save myself some time as a student and also the administrator. So the first thing it's going to do is present me with a list of job applications that I've completed through the system. And so I can pick from this list of all of the applications I've submitted. And again, this is just going to save me time from data entry. If my co-op is not listed here as something I've applied for within this system, I can just hit add new. And it's going to take me to another screen where I can look up my company. So what company did I have this co-op with? So I'm just going to pick GradLeaders here. I can hit select continue, or if it's not found, if it's not a company profile that's within your system, you can hit not found skip, and it's again just going to have the student fill out a little bit more information. If I hit select, then it's going to say, okay, here's all of the contacts we have for this company. Are any of these contacts your contact for this co-op? Very similarly, I can choose somebody from here. It's going to pre-populate information. If my contact is not listed here, I can hit not found skip. For the sake of this, I'm just going to choose a contact. I'm going to hit select. It's going to ask me if this contact is the supervisor. Like we discussed earlier briefly in the approval workflow, sometimes the company contact and supervisor are the same person. Sometimes they are different. So this is just giving the student the ability to confirm, is this contact you've selected also your supervisor? I'm going to hit yes and kind of show you the difference here. So I hit yes, I'm taken to basically the survey or the page, the web form of the co-op record that the student must fill out. This is fully customizable. So as far as what questions you ask of them, what questions are required, the sorting of these questions, any of these section headers like co-op information, work information, those are all customizable. We also have logic rules as well, so we can do rules that say if this industry equals manufacturers, then show this question for them to answer. So that's just an example of how we can use logic to our advantage here to really tailor this form to a lot of different types of students and types of co-ops. So what I did earlier as far as picking my company, picking my contact, saying that contact was also the supervisor, again, what that did was save me time as a student. It went ahead and filled in the organization name, filled in the contact name, and since I said that this contact was also my supervisor, it pulled all of these records or this data off of the contact record in the system to, again, save me time and put in the information pre-populate. And so from here, all I would do is finish my required field. So I could just say this is a test co-op starting on the 19th, and I'm going to work there until January 30th. My salary. And then all of these are optional the way we have them set up. Again, a little bit of imagination here. This is fully customizable to kind of meet your process. Zip codes required. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And that's it. That's the end of my experience as a student at this point. I've submitted my record, and then from here it's going to essentially flow over to the administrative side, and then I'll show you how to manage this record as an administrator. So jumping back over as an admin, if I go to my co-op and internship record file here, which is where we're at, this is kind of the big grid or big bucket of all of my co-op records. And so this will show me all of my co-op data. And from here, I can get granular if I need to. I can maybe run a basic search on semester, or maybe I'm looking for a specific student, so I can run first, last name. Maybe I'm just looking for co-ops that are in a pending status. And so this is an example of how you can use basic search to, kind of pare down these records and find a group or an individual that you need to address. And so I'll just quickly jump into the one I just created. And so what I'm seeing here is basically the exact information that the student submitted. And I'm looking at the same form, but what may be helpful to imagine here is that there are some fields that can only exist on the admin side. So let's say there's course information, or is this related to any type of credit? You can have those fields only show on the administrative side to manage this and not ever have that show to the student or have the student answer information. Sometimes there's data that needs to live on this co-op record but isn't really directly related to the student, or maybe they're not aware of that information when they submit it, so this is something that the administrator is going to take control of. So it's nice that we're looking at the same information, but really dealing with two different flexible surveys or web pages that we can control. And so from here, I'm looking at all the information. I see the student, the status defaults as pending, and now again, I selected a company and a contact, so that company and contact are automatically linked to this co-op record. I can link a job if I need to. If I had selected a job from my applications initially, that very first screen I was taken to, then a linked job would be here as well. The reason these are important is really has to do with the evaluations that go out. In order to make this record in an active status from a pending status, you would need to have a company and a contact linked, and that's really because that's where we send the employer-facing surveys to, is this linked contact right here. And so, again, if this is the same person as the supervisor, then we're good. Maybe the contact is different from the supervisor and the supervisor needs to get the survey, then you can really edit this contact and make the supervisor the linked contact. So if a student ever makes a mistake as far as, oh, I linked the wrong company, or I linked the wrong contact, or my supervisor information is wrong, you can always come in and modify this if you need to and correct it. And while we're on that topic, a couple newer features here. Historically, you had to copy the record to change the semester, and that way you would be left with the old record that was invalid, but you'd still have that historic data. Now you can easily just come in, change the co-op semester. So if I submitted this against fall 2018, which we can see right here, and that's incorrect, as an admin, I can come in and I can quickly change this to the correct semester, hit save, and my work is done there. I can also delete this. So if you ever do have test data in here that you're running through, maybe there was just an error and you need the student to really start from scratch. It's not as simple as just changing the semester. You can delete this information. Now, if evaluations or surveys have started to run, you're not going to be able to delete because you have additional data tied to that. And once you kind of have that there, we keep that for data integrity and kind of prevent that. So at this point, I can edit this information again. So as an admin, if they made a mistake anywhere here, maybe their salary was wrong, maybe I talked to the supervisor and they gave me an updated job title, something like that, I can come in as an administrator and edit this. And then we have a couple other things we can do to this record to kind of keep it moving. So we have the approval workflow and the feedback setup. We'll look at the approval workflow first, and this is where our approval templates that we created initially are going to come in handy. So this is the big list of templates that I can start from. And again, I see schools that maybe just have one. Other schools have one maybe specific to clusters of students, maybe by major or something like that. But if I choose a template here, all it's going to do, again, is save me time. It's just going to bring me my template. But I can still modify this as I need to. So I can change the deadline dates here. So basically, how long does this first step have to complete this? How long does this second step have to complete it? So on and so forth. Maybe for this round, I don't need the advisor to sign off on this. So I can just remove this person as a step. Maybe I need to add and say this has to go to somewhere else. And so I can do the other wildcard and I can say this has to go to this email address. And then once that's all done, I want it to go to the student. And so I can really customize this off of that template. The template is really just there as a template for you to kind of start from. But you can always create these uniquely for each student, or you can just hang with your template if it's sufficient and kick it off. And you'll see here that all these fields outside of the other are automatically pulling in information. And that's another nice thing about the approval workflow is that it's going to automatically look at places in the system for this data. So if I picked company supervisor, I did pick Chelsea here as my contact on this record, so her information is automatically going to be pulled in as the supervisor because I told the system that this was my supervisor. So now the system knows if the step is company supervisor, I know exactly where to go look to pull this information in, so you're not going to have to manually enter this. And this is the same for every single step except for other, just because it's the wild card, it gives you the flexibility to put in any email address that you want. So basically you'd save this. Now you can see here I don't have deadline dates, so it's going to yell at me, so I can just throw in some random dates here. Hit save. I also need a description. Test. Okay, and so now here's the approval workflow I created. Oh, if I made a mistake, I can just go back and edit just that easily. Now once I initiate the approval process, this path is locked. So if I'm comfortable with that, this is the path that this record needs to take to be approved, I can go ahead and initiate this approval process. And so now you can see workflow initiated is yes, it has not been completed yet, and now it's on step 1. So when I initiate that, this first step is going to get an email with a unique URL for them to click into it and have a view-only page of that record. And then from there, they can review the information and they can approve or they can reject. And if they choose to reject, then they're prompted to enter a rejection reason. And sometimes maybe they say, hey, the salary is not correct. Or maybe they have my information wrong because I'm the supervisor in this scenario as step 1. Whatever the reason is, if they make a rejection, they have to tell you why. If they approve it, then it goes on to the next step. This is sequential. So step 2 will not get notified to approve or reject this until step 1 has completed their effort. And by completed, I mean approved. If step 1 rejects it, it halts the workflow. Let's say step 1 approved it and step 2 rejects it, it would not move on to step 3. So rejection will kind of halt this workflow in place until that rejection is addressed. And I'll show you how you can kind of manage that. So here you can see I have a couple of different icons for step 1 that I don't have for step 2. I can resend that notification email. So maybe they didn't get it, maybe it got lost in spam, whatever the case is. I can approve or reject on behalf of this user. So let's say the company supervisor called me and said, hey, I'm sure everything's fine, I'm on the road. Can you just go ahead and approve this so it can move on to the next phase? I don't want to hold this up. So you can do that. And then we have a newer feature, which is View Approval Step Email Log. And if you click this, you can see all of the activity with these emails. So you can see here that right when I kick this off, it generated this email, and you can see the body and the unique URL. So I can grab this unique URL here, and I can open up a new tab. I'll just use the student tab here. And so I can come in, and now this is exactly what it would look like for them. Now, obviously, a little truncated here. We don't have all the fields shown, but you can choose what fields from the co-op record shows to these approval types. And from here, this is the action that I can take. I don't have to have access to the system. You can see it didn't make me sign in. So, you know, even if it is a staff, like an advisor or a secondary co-op manager, they don't have to authenticate and log into your system to get to this. They can just click that URL that comes in the email. It takes them straight to a page like this. They can review the information. They can mark it as approved or rejected. For this, I'm just going to do it that I rejected this. You can see I'm forced to enter a reason. So I'm going to save this, and now it's basically saying, hey, appreciate it, you're done. Now if I come back as an administrator, I can see that this is rejected. And so from here I can see the reason being test populates there. There's other ways to get this that I'll show you. But you can see what I can do now as an admin is reset this back to pending. So if they did reject it based on misinformation, something, once that's addressed, I can reset this back to pending, so that the email triggers right back out to the supervisor again, and they can re-review and hopefully approve, and it'll continue on the path. And so that's kind of the approval workflow in a nutshell. Pretty straightforward. Once you kind of get the hang of it, it's very easy and very seamless to kind of throw a template on there, kick it off. And as we look at reporting, I'll kind of show you a nice newer report related to the approval workflow. So the last piece here on the record as an administrator managing it is going to be the feedback setup. And so if I click into here, this is going to look very familiar to the semester setup, where you chose all of your evaluations and surveys. And so this is defaulting to whatever's on the semester of fall 2018. So whatever surveys and dates that I put on the fall 2018 semester is going to be the default for this record, because it is submitted against that fall 2018 semester. But let's say I want to send Courtney here a different survey for the midterm. I can choose that. I can modify the dates. I can modify the reminder intervals. I can choose to send her employer a different survey. And so this is just the example of, you can go in record by record if needed and modify this to be unique to that student or that individual co-op record. The semester is, again, just giving you kind of a fail-safe or a template for everything to default to. So when I create a semester, I just want that to be, let's say, you know, maybe 80% of my co-ops are going to fall under this bucket. That's what I want to create that semester to be, because for that 20%, that's when I'm going to have to come in and do this and modify it for that 20% to make it unique. But essentially, once I modify this, I just hit save, and then based on those dates, that's when emails are going to trigger to go to the student or the employer, and everything's kind of hands off. So once you set up that feedback setup, the system's going to take care of the rest. And once they do complete evaluations and surveys, I'll show you how you can report on it, but there's a nice way to see those responses right here on this page. Now, a little bit of imagination here. Our demo environment, we don't have our job agents turned on. We don't want to send out emails from our demo environment. But down here, you'll see feedback results. And so this will show whether a survey has been completed. And you can see here, no, because we don't send out agents, so we haven't really sent any of these out to be completed. If it was completed, this would be changed to Y for yes. There would be a response date in here, a timestamp, so the actual date and then the time. And then there's going to be a little binocular icon. And so resend evaluation email is triggers when an email has been fired out but has not been completed yet, because you can quickly resend it to a student or employer if you need to. But once it's completed, there'll be a little binocular icon here. It'll say view results. If you click into that, it'll just automatically refresh all of the results from their survey that they've completed and show you it right here in this system. So you don't have to go out to SurveyMonkey, you don't have to run a report if you need to, you can just quickly see them on the fly. But I'll show you how you can report and see them in mass if you need to. So that's just kind of a cool feature, but again, a little bit of imagination because of the demo environment, unfortunately. And so at this point, we're pretty much done with the record. You know, initially I'm getting the record as an administrator. I can make edits if I need to. I can change the semester if I need to. I can delete it if it's a dummy record. I can set up the approval workflow the way I need to. I can adjust the surveys and evaluations the way I need to, and I can do all of this on an individual student. And now, another nice thing about the feedback setup that we're just wrapping up on is the ability to update records the evaluation and feedback surveys and dates in mass. So maybe you run a search on, maybe you go back to your main co-op record page and you say, I want to run a search for all of my summer 2018 semesters that have a start date after September 1st. And for all those people, I need to change their survey dates to later than what's defaulted on the semester because they have a later start date, just as an example. And so here shortly, I just finished the requirements on it. Everything looks good. You'll be able to do that in mass. So you won't have to go record by record and adjust the dates. You can do them in mass, whether it be 10 records or 50 records. So that'll be a nice feature here coming soon. And so that's pretty much it on the administrator side, except for reporting. And I know we all love our data, so I'll show you quite a few ways that you can extract it. So as a quick raw data, you can just export from here. So you can export all. So I have 59 records in total in this demo environment. Maybe I just want to hand pick a few, or let's say maybe I just want to run a search real quick and say, show me everybody in the fall 2018 semester. So I only have 8 records in the fall 2018 semester here on my Match tab. So I can export from here if I need to. I can select maybe just 5 of these and then move to my Selected tab and export. What I'm getting at here is you can really chop this up however you want and export the data that you need to. But if I click Export, a quick page pulls up, shows you all of the fields that are on the co-op record, and you can sit here and hand pick which ones you want to spit out to Excel. And what's nice here, let's say you just do this again for like a quick view of some records, you can persist this, and so if I make custom selections here, the next time I go to export, it's going to remember this and keep all my selections so I don't have to come in and hand pick these every single time. This is just a very quick export. It's used just for that when I just need to see data quickly on certain records or maybe an individual record. We do have 3 canned reports that are going to be helpful for you as well. So under reports, we have 3 different ones here. 2 are really dealing with co-op report data, and then there's a new approval workflow report, and I'll show you that one first. So here I can choose my semester. I can do multiple semesters if I want. So let's say I have 2 running currently, so I can grab 2. So I'll just do fall. I can filter on class year, program also being degree, and then major as well. And if I hit view report, what this is doing is it's showing me all of the approval workflows that are still in process. So basically it's saying, hey, for this record, the record's active, it's for this semester, but you have step 2 is pending. And they were emailed back in September 2017, so they've been holding on to this for a while. But essentially what this is doing is just giving you a way to quickly see in mass, out of all of my records for this semester, or these multiple semesters based on your selections above, what steps in the approval workflow are either pending or rejected, and kind of holding this up. And you can quickly save this or export to Excel or PDF if you need to. This just gives you a view in the page to start, but then you can always extract this. So this is kind of a newer one. Again, just a way for you to easily identify throughout all of your records which ones are being held up for the approval workflow so you can address it. The other 2 canned reports are going to be dealing with more of the co-op reporting directly. The first one, you can choose, this is PID, so a majority of the schools just have one PID or program ID, which would be like students. You choose your semesters. You can choose multiple again in here if you need to. You got a couple other filters. You have a start date and end date range filter, and this is from the co-op record. You have the status of the record here, but then this is the nice piece. You have 3 columns, and that's kind of a term that we use a lot for certain reports that have 3 columns. And what we're doing here is we're allowing you to grab data from different data tables on the back end. So you can see the first column, these are all of my fields from the student's profile. This middle column are all of my fields from the actual co-op record. The last column are all of my fields from the employer profile, the linked company to that co-op record. And so I can see here and mix and match data from the company's profile, from the co-op record, and from the student's profile, and create kind of a custom report and export that data into an Excel. So this one's super popular for that reason. The second one and the last one here is very, very similar. The biggest difference is that you cannot choose multiple semesters, and I'll tell you why. And then the third data column is not employer or company profile data, it's your survey and evaluation data. You can still mix from the student profile and the co-op record, but the reason you can only choose one semester is because the third column is your survey responses. You can see here I can filter, do I want student-facing surveys from the spring 2018 semester, or do I want my company-facing surveys from the spring 2018 semester? Now for spring 2018, obviously we don't have any company-facing surveys, so I didn't have an option there. Flip back to student. So here I can choose, I want to run my learning objective survey for spring 2018, and I want to mix that with, let's say, their program or degree, their major, their class year, whatever I want from their profile, and then I want to get the end date from the co-op, I want to get the company name, whatever information you want from the co-op record, export, and it'll give you all of this data from the first two columns, and then it'll give you all of the questions and response data for your surveys that have gone out or evaluations that have gone out. So this is a good way to report on those in mass. SurveyMonkey, they do have some nice reporting tools in there, but you're really only dealing with response data. Obviously, we don't pass any data over to SurveyMonkey as far as your student data or co-op data, so they don't have access to this stuff. So SurveyMonkey, you're only going to be able to extract pure response data, and that could be helpful for certain situations, but if you want to marry that response data up with information from the actual co-op record or from the actual student's profile, that's why this report exists. And that's pretty much co-op in a nutshell. I mean, I could talk about this for a long time. There's a lot of customization that can be done. It's very nice to work with schools on this. I'm really happy with the way that this module works and the way it aligns with a lot of different processes that I've seen. So the flexibility of it is just great, and I think thanks to a lot of schools' feedback and working directly with them, they've helped us just build this up even more. So a lot of these newer things we looked for, like the approval workflow report or the ability to change a semester that easily, that's feedback from our partners, our school partners, and they've really helped us develop this tool. And I'm just pleased to see where it's at now. So with that being said, that's pretty much all I had to cover. And so, Tammy, I guess we can just take a look at the chat and see if we have any questions.
See what we have, yeah. And just a reminder to use chat and not Q&A.
Yep. So Dawn, yes. Will the webinar be available to view at a later date? Had technical difficulty, missed a portion initially? Yes. We've been recording this, and we will be posting it on our partner support page, which I believe we will talk about here in 1 second. Yep. And I think that's all I had in chat. So I want to leave it for a few seconds. If anybody has any questions, you feel free to throw it in chat, and I'll just keep an eye on it real quick.
We can always come back. I can go through the last few slides. Also mention that generally what we do with these webinars is when we have the recording done, then we'll actually email it out to you directly. Or at least a link, I should say. Okay.
Can you save basic searches on that main records page? That's a great question. There are no saved searches on the co-op record level. Now, it will persist your search. So if you do have a current search, like my current search of semester fall 2018, that will persist if I log out and come back in. As soon as I clear that search, then I'm back to kind of square one. But there's similar to how you could have in the students file or maybe the job file, that save search capability isn't here. But that's a great question. That's actually a really good suggestion. Can I open the advanced search? Absolutely. So it doesn't seem too advanced in comparison to the basic search, but on the back end here is where everything kind of lives, and we can take any field from the co-op record that exists on the co-op record and put it on that search and either make it basic search or make it advanced search. So you can see here this admin co-op search survey here on the back end. This is where this data lives. You can see these are the 4 that are basic search. So that's why only those 4 are showing on the basic search, and then the remaining 4 plus the basic search 4 are showing on the advanced search. But we can add any field that exists on the co-op record to that search. Okay. Can you link the information from the report, your internship full-time employment success, to the student's co-op internship data so that it auto-populates? I'm not sure I follow Michelle exactly unless I'm misunderstanding. My initial thought was thinking of employment reporting mixed with this, but I'm not sure if that's what you're meaning by that. I'm going to make a note of your name just in case I want to talk to you outside of that. Okay, Michelle, Sorry, I don't quite understand, but I made a note of your name here, so I can just follow up with you afterwards if that's okay. And I'll actually do this here. If you do have any other questions that we can get to, information that I find on the offer file section may be the same, just not sure. I got you. Yeah, so the offer file is a menu that is activated for schools that use our employment reporting or outcome reporting. It has a lot of different names, just like this module would. They're not linked together. So submitting a co-op record is really exclusive to this module and doesn't bleed over into traditional employment reporting or job offers. Does that help, Michelle? Okay, you're welcome. And any other questions, I mean, feel free to continue chatting. Otherwise, feel free to submit a case, and I just typed in our support email. I'm sure you guys are probably all familiar with, but that'll be a good way to just help us kind of document these so we can follow up. But I'm going to jump back over to the remainder of this presentation, and you guys can continue to type in, and I'll probably check it right at the end as well.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much, Aaron. That was really a great demonstration. Like Aaron said, if you still have some questions, continue to use the chat, and we can either come back or we'll follow up with you after the session. Just wanted to remind you that we do have the partner support portal. In addition to emailing you the recording, this webinar will go on our support portal in the webinar section. We have a number of guides and videos available on the support portal. Also want to mention too, we have what we call the KB, or the knowledge base, which has very good step-by-step instructions, really outlining just about everything that Aaron has covered today. So if you wanted to go back and find those written instructions, those are available in the knowledge base, which is accessible through our support portal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot that all the things we talked about, approval workflows, semester, setting up your external surveys, your SurveyMonkey, all of that stuff is documented, just to kind of be a little bit of a helping hand. It helped a lot of people here internally as well when those were created. And
so this just shows you all of the things that are available on the support portal. So, you know, definitely if you haven't spent any time in there, it's definitely a good place to go and look around, and you'll learn a lot of things that you probably weren't even aware were available in the system. We also have live chat. I mean, we are certainly here to help. Aaron entered the email address, our support at, and email is a great way to communicate with us. But if you have a quick question and you just want to ask, or something, you know, that you feel is urgent and you want us to address, or you know, you sort of want that human contact, the best way to do that is through live chat. Every day we have somebody assigned to live chat, and you know, if we need more, we'll add more. But generally, you're going to get a response, or they're going to be answering you probably within a minute or so. Usually, even more quickly than that. You can ask your questions through live chat. So just remember that that's available. If you go into the support portal, then you will see this little need help widget, and if you click on start chat, that gets the ball rolling. We have these best practice webinars every month. We didn't, actually I shouldn't say that we did not have one last month, just because that's a crazy month for all of us, but we do strive to have them every month. The second Thursday, I think we're a little off this month, but generally it's the second Thursday. We always send out invitations, usually 3 to 4 weeks in advance, so you can plan your schedule. And if you are too busy to attend, then like we mentioned, we will record them and we put them up on our support portal. Thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else, Aaron, in the chat?
Doesn't look like it. Michelle, thanks for clarifying. I hope I can help. Allison, great suggestion on the save searches. I'll look into that more, and if I find anything out, I will follow up with you. But worst case scenario, that's a great feature request. We can get it documented and take a look at what we can do to kind of achieve that.
All right, great. Well, thank you everyone for participating. As always, you know, we're always available through support, or if you'd like to contact Aaron and I directly, we are more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So we'll let you go and have the rest of your afternoon, and have a great day. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.